The clink of wine glasses filled the dining room as laughter rolled across the long oak table. Candles flickered, casting golden shadows on plates piled with roasted lamb, mashed potatoes, and sides that smelled of butter and garlic. It was supposed to be a family dinner, civilized, warm, and festive. But I knew better. With my sister Olivia, there was always an edge. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I sat across from her, my husband Daniel at my side, his hand resting under the table on my knee. Quiet support, steady as ever. Olivia, of course, had taken center stage, her diamond bracelet glittering under the chandelier light as she lifted her glass. Her husband Greg leaned back smugly, tapping on his Rolex like he was counting down to his next big deal. Then Olivia's voice sliced through the hum of small talk. "Your husband can't even provide like mine," she said with a sharp laugh, loud enough for everyone to hear. Her words landed like a slap, echoing against the polished walls. Every eye flicked toward me, waiting for my reaction. I saw my mother lower her fork, my father's jaw tighten, and cousins shift in their seats. The tension spiked, almost electric. Olivia was daring me to stay silent, daring me to look small. I didn't. I smiled. Slow, deliberate, letting it spread across my face until her laughter faltered just a little. I lifted my glass of water and took a sip before speaking. Then he can pay back the $40,000 my husband spent saving his business. The room froze. For a split second, all sound vanished. Even the soft hum of the air conditioner seemed to disappear. Olivia's hand trembled, her wine glass slipping from her fingers. It hit the hardwood floor with a sharp crash, red liquid spreading like blood across the rug. Greg's face drained of color, his smirk evaporating. My mother gasped, my father muttered something under his breath, and my cousin Emily clapped a hand over her mouth. "No one moved. What are you talking about?" Olivia stammered, her voice suddenly thin. I leaned forward, my smile gone now, my eyes locked on hers. "You remember last summer when Greg's company was 3 weeks from bankruptcy? When he couldn't cover payroll?" Daniel stepped in, quietly. No spotlight. No bragging. Just a check for 40 grand to keep the lights on and the employees paid. "And you—" I let the word hang in the air like a knife. "You've been sitting here mocking him ever since." Olivia's face turned blotchy red. Her eyes darting to Greg, searching for denial. An explanation, anything. But Greg stared at the table, his jaw clenched so tight a vein pulsed in his temple. He didn't say a word. The silence was crushing, heavy as stone. Daniel shifted in his chair, finally speaking, his voice calm but cutting. I wasn't going to say anything. I didn't want to humiliate you, Greg, but I won't sit here and let my wife be disrespected when you know damn well who kept your business alive. Gasps rippled around the table. My father coughed into his napkin to hide his smirk, while my aunt whispered, "Oh my God," to the person next to her. Olivia's lips parted like she wanted to speak, but no words came out. Instead, her eyes glossed with tears. She quickly blinked away. She was cornered, stripped of her usual power, exposed in front of everyone she'd been trying to impress. I set my glass down and leaned back, my heart pounding but steady. Inside, I felt years of her little jabs, her constant competition, her endless digs at my marriage, all of it, finally collapsing under the weight of a single truth. And for the first time, Olivia had nothing to say. Greg finally looked up, his voice gravelly and low. "She's right," he muttered. "It's true." The room exploded. Aunt Marlene whispered furiously. Uncle Tom groaned. My cousin Jason muttered, "Wow, man," under his breath. My mother pinched the bridge of her nose while my father just sat back, shaking his head slowly like everything finally made sense. Olivia shot Greg a glare sharp enough to cut glass. "You didn't tell me?" she hissed. Greg slammed his palm on the table, silverware rattling. What was I supposed to say? That your perfect little sister's husband bailed me out? You would have never let me live it down. His words cracked her facade. The confident smirk she wore so proudly shattered. She looked small, cornered, trembling with a fury she couldn't unleash without making it worse. I leaned in again, my voice soft but firm. You wanted to laugh at us, Olivia. You wanted to remind me how much better your life is. But now everyone knows the truth. You're standing on money that didn't even come from your husband. It came from mine. Her tears broke then, spilling over, and she grabbed a napkin, blotting them furiously. But the damage was done. The laughter she threw at me had ricocheted back, cutting deeper than she ever expected. And I didn't have to shout. I didn't have to argue. I just told the truth. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating, until Daniel stood, tossing his napkin on his plate. He placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. I think we're done here. I rose with him, my chin high, my heart pounding in a rhythm that screamed both victory and release. Olivia kept her head down. Greg's hands were fists on the table. And the rest of the family stared at us like they'd just witnessed a storm tear through the room. As we walked out, I heard Olivia's broken whisper trail behind me. She humiliated me, but I didn't look back. For once, she wasn't the one holding the knife. I was. The car ride home was silent, but not the uncomfortable kind. Daniel's hand stayed on the wheel, knuckles pale against the leather, while I stared out at the blur of streetlights. My heart was still racing, every detail from that dinner replaying in my mind, the way Olivia's glass had shattered, the way Greg couldn't even look me in the eye, the way the entire table went dead silent after my words. Daniel finally broke the silence. You didn't have to do that, he said quietly. I turned to him, my voice steady but firm. She crossed a line, Daniel. She's been crossing it for years. Tonight she asked for it. His lips curved into the faintest smile. I'm proud of you. That should have been the end of it. A humiliating dinner, a lesson learned and life moving forward. But with Olivia, it was never that simple. The very next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Texts, calls, missed FaceTime attempts. My cousin Emily sent a screenshot of Olivia's latest social media post. The caption burned. Some people need to invent stories to feel relevant. Sad, really? And the comments? Half the family already chiming in with heart emojis, supportive words, and digs that made it sound like I was the villain. I felt my stomach tighten. She was trying to flip the narrative. Daniel leaned over my shoulder, reading the post. His jaw hardened. She's doubling down. I tossed the phone on the counter. She always does. She can't stand losing face. But this time it wasn't just about pride. This time there was money on the table. $40,000 to be exact. By late afternoon, I got another call. This time from my father. His voice carried that low, stern tone that instantly brought back childhood memories of being scolded. Rachel, you stirred up quite a mess last night. Olivia says you exaggerated. Greg says Daniel's money was just a loan, not saving the business. I gripped the phone tighter. Dad, it wasn't a loan. It was survival. We wrote that check when his payroll was collapsing. Do you know how many families would have lost their income if Daniel hadn't stepped in? There was a long pause. Then my father sighed. I believe you. But the rest of the family? They'll believe whoever shouts louder. The words hit me hard. Daniel put a mug of coffee in front of me and kissed my forehead. Then it's time we stop letting her shout. That evening, I decided, if Olivia wanted to play games, then I'd end them. Not with lies. Not with shouting. With proof. Daniel opened the drawer of his home office and pulled out a folder. Inside were copies of the bank transfers, the emails between him and Greg, even the acknowledgement letter Greg signed when the funds hit his account. Daniel had kept everything. Why didn't you show this sooner? I asked, flipping through the papers, my pulse racing, because I didn't want to embarrass him. I thought he'd step up eventually, own it like a man. But he didn't. I swallowed hard, the weight of the truth heavy in my hands. Then we're not staying quiet anymore. The next weekend, at another family gathering, this time at my parents' house, Olivia tried again. She wore a silk dress, her makeup flawless, her smile sharp as she clinked glasses with her allies. As soon as I walked in with Daniel, her voice rang out. "Oh, look who decided to show up. Careful, everyone. She might invent another story tonight." The room chuckled nervously. I didn't flinch. Instead, I set the folder on the table, right between the bowls of salad and bread rolls. The sound of the folder hitting wood made the laughter die instantly. "What's that?" Olivia demanded, her smile twitching. I opened it slowly, my eyes locked on hers. Proof, every cent, every transfer, every signature from Greg himself. $40,000 that kept his business alive. "Do you still want to call that a story?" Gasps filled the room. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father leaned forward with narrowed eyes, and Greg's face went pale, his fork clattering onto his plate. Olivia's bravado cracked. Her voice came out shrill, shaking. You had no right." Daniel cut her off, his voice calm but firm. "We had every right. You insulted my wife publicly. You dragged her name online. This stops now." The silence was deafening. Every cousin, every aunt, every uncle stared at Olivia as her empire of lies crumbled in front of them. Greg pushed his chair back and stormed out of the dining room. Slamming the door behind him, Olivia sat frozen, her hands trembling over her lap, her face burning red. I leaned down, close enough that only she could hear. "This isn't about money, Olivia. It's about respect. And until you learn that, you'll keep losing." Her eyes filled with tears she refused to shed. But for the first time in my life, Olivia had no weapon left to throw at me, and this time the silence wasn't on my side. It was on hers. The silence of a room full of family who finally saw her for who she was. Greg's footsteps thundered down the hall, followed by the slam of the front door. The sound reverberated through the entire house, leaving behind a silence so heavy it seemed to suffocate the room. Every face turned back to Olivia, whose knuckles gripped the edge of her chair so tightly her skin turned white. My father cleared his throat, his voice cutting through the thick air. "So it's true." Olivia's lips trembled. "Dad, you don't understand." "No, Olivia," my father said sharply, his eyes cold. "I understand perfectly. Rachel and Daniel stepped up when Greg failed, and instead of being grateful, you mocked them." The room shifted. My mother set her napkin down, staring at Olivia with disappointment etched deep into her face. My cousins whispered among themselves, their expressions ranging from shock to disgust. Olivia's chest heaved, her eyes darting toward me with venom. "You planned this. You wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone." I met her gaze, my voice calm, almost too calm. "No, Olivia. You did that yourself. All I did was tell the truth." Her hand shot out, grabbing her glass of water. She took a shaky sip, but her composure had already cracked. The Olivia who thrived on control, who lived for the spotlight, was unraveling. Suddenly, my Aunt Marlene leaned forward, her tone sharp. "Olivia, I think you owe your sister an apology." The room went still again. Olivia's mouth fell open, her pride warring with the expectation hanging heavy in the air. But she said nothing. Instead, she stood abruptly, the legs of her chair screeching against the floor. "I don't have to sit here and be attacked," she snapped. Her heels clicked furiously across the hardwood as she stormed toward the door. But before she reached it, Daniel's voice rang out, steady and powerful. "You walk away now, and you'll never fix this. You'll lose more than just respect." Olivia froze, her back to us. Everyone watched, waiting. Slowly, she turned, her face streaked with tears she hadn't been able to hide this time. "You think you're better than me, don't you?" She spat at me, her voice trembling with rage and pain. "All my life you've played the sweet one, the quiet one, while I fought to be noticed. And now you think you've won because your husband bailed mine out?" Her words cut deep, but they didn't land the way she wanted. Because beneath the venom, there was truth about her insecurity, her desperation to outshine me. I stood, my voice steady, firm. "I never wanted to compete with you, Olivia. I never wanted to tear you down. But I won't let you keep tearing me apart to make yourself feel bigger." The air in the room shifted. Some of the family nodded quietly, the weight of the moment pressing down on all of us. Olivia's breath hitched, and for the first time, her armor broke completely. Her shoulders slumped, her hands shaking as she whispered, "I didn't know." "About the money. Greg never told me." Daniel spoke gently, though his words carried steel. "Then maybe you should ask yourself why." That struck her harder than anything else. Her eyes flicked toward the door where Greg had stormed out minutes earlier. For once, her anger wasn't aimed at me. It was at him. The silence stretched again until my father finally spoke. "Rachel and Daniel, thank you for your integrity, for your honesty. Olivia," he paused, his voice heavy with disappointment. "You need to face the truth, whether you like it or not." Olivia wiped her tears with the back of her hand, her breathing ragged. She didn't argue this time. She simply turned and walked out, the door shutting softly behind her. The family exhaled, as if the storm had finally passed. My mother reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "I'm proud of you, Rachel. You didn't just defend yourself. You defended what was right." Daniel gave me a look, one that said everything without words: pride, love, and a promise that no matter what storms came, we'd face them together. But even as I sat back down, the weight of what just happened lingered. Olivia wasn't finished. I could feel it in my bones. This wasn't the end of the war. It was just the first battle. Later that night, as Daniel and I walked to the car, the cool evening air wrapped around us, carrying the faint sound of crickets. He opened the door for me, but before I got in, I spotted Olivia standing at the corner of the driveway. Her makeup was streaked, her hair falling loose around her face. She looked broken, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen before. "Rachel," she called softly, her voice hoarse. I turned to face her, my heart pounding. "You destroyed me tonight," she whispered. "But maybe I needed it." Her eyes glistened in the dim light before she turned and disappeared into the shadows. I slid into the car, my chest tight, because for the first time I realized Olivia wasn't just my rival. She was my sister, drowning in her own pride, and maybe, just maybe, this was the only way she'd ever learn to breathe. Daniel started the engine, his hand finding mine. "You okay?" I nodded slowly, staring out into the night. "Yeah, for the first time in a long time I think I am. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot." The next week moved like a storm. I thought Olivia might go quiet, lick her wounds in private, maybe even make peace. But no, she doubled down again. Gossip spread through the family group chat like wildfire. Screenshots, whispers, twisted versions of the story. Olivia had turned herself into the victim, painting me as cruel, Daniel as arrogant. At first, I ignored it. But then Daniel walked into the kitchen one morning, a folded newspaper in his hand, his face grim. "You need to see this." The headline hit me like a punch. "Local contractor under investigation for fraudulent loans." Below it, Greg's photo. My breath caught. "Daniel, this is—" he nodded. "Greg, it's worse than we thought." I skimmed the article. His company hadn't just been struggling, it was drowning. Multiple lawsuits were already filed. Employees hadn't been paid in weeks. And now, with the fraud investigation, everything Olivia had built her pride on was collapsing in broad daylight. The silence in the kitchen was thick. Finally, Daniel spoke. "This is going to drag her down with him." He was right. By evening, my phone rang again. This time it was my father. His voice was tense, the sound of someone who'd spent the whole day holding a family together with both hands. "Rachel, we're meeting tonight. At the house. Everyone needs to be there." When we arrived, the atmosphere was suffocating. Relatives crowded the living room, their voices hushed, eyes flicking toward the closed door of my parents' study. Inside, Olivia sat hunched on the couch, her mascara smudged, her hands twisting the hem of her sweater. Greg was nowhere to be seen. The room fell silent when Daniel and I entered. My father gestured to us. "Sit." Olivia lifted her head. Her eyes were red, swollen, but not from anger this time. From something deeper. Fear? "You happy now?" she whispered bitterly. Greg's ruined. Everyone knows. My life, her voice cracked. My life is over. For the first time, I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt pity, because this wasn't just a fight between sisters anymore. This was her world crashing down. I leaned forward, my voice low but steady. Olivia, I didn't want this. I only wanted you to stop tearing me apart. But Greg's choices. That's not on me. Her lips trembled. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know how bad it was. He kept everything from me. Daniel spoke up, his voice calm but sharp. And yet you mocked Rachel for standing by me, for living within our means, for choosing honesty over appearances. That's why you're here now, Olivia. Not because of us, but because of what you chose to value. The words hit her hard. She broke then, covering her face with her hands, her sobs shaking the room. My mother rubbed her back, whispering softly, while my father sat stiff, disappointment etched deep into his features. The family watched, torn between anger and sympathy. But for me, it was a moment of clarity. I stood slowly, all eyes on me. Olivia, I'll say this once. You can hate me if it makes you feel better. You can blame me for speaking the truth. But know this, I will never apologize for protecting myself or my husband. And I will not let you drag me down just because your world is falling apart. The silence was suffocating, every word hanging heavy in the air. Olivia lowered her hands, her face blotchy and wet. She nodded once, just once. A silent acknowledgement. That night, Daniel and I left with the weight of finality pressing down on our shoulders. In the car, I stared out at the dark streetlights streaking across the window like fleeting ghosts. Do you think she'll recover from this? I asked softly. Daniel tightened his grip on the wheel. Maybe, but only if she stops seeing you as her enemy. I exhaled slowly, letting the truth sink in. For years, Olivia had been my rival, my shadow, my tormentor. But tonight proved something bigger. She wasn't stronger than me. She never had been. She was only louder, and for the first time the noise was gone. The following week, Greg's business collapsed completely. Lawsuits piled in, and Olivia quietly disappeared from social media. The family chat went silent, no one daring to fuel the fire anymore. Then one afternoon, as Daniel and I sat on the porch sipping coffee, my phone buzzed with a single text. It was from Olivia. I'm sorry, no excuses, no defenses. Just 2 words that carried the weight of a lifetime of rivalry. I showed Daniel. He squeezed my hand, a small smile tugging at his lips. That's something. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt release, because this wasn't about winning anymore. It was about finally being free. I typed back, me too.